But let's make a new best friend.
Let's get down.
I just finished binge watching the second season of the show. I've talked about it before. I thought the first season was so amazing, and like it's an Amazon show, so like you got a signal boost, or people don't see it. So we'll talk about his career and talk about the show. I hope it's not an alienating conversation. If you haven't seen the show, I would recommend you watch it. I think it's really, really interesting, and I'm so grateful for him being willing to come here and talk about it. The creator, writer, director of Patriot, please welcome Stephen Conrad. Sorry if I made you wait a little too long there. I'm sure it's a little...
That was the second time I heard this story.
I was kind of like, well, okay, here's the thing. I got to talk about this. And I gave him a little brief version of it. So thanks for making Patriot. I just finished watching the second season.
Thank you for paying attention. And I bring the gratitude of our entire cast and our team of filmmakers who appreciate any attention. We have to go a long way from home to work on the show. And
where is that exactly?
We shot in Paris, which was not, that wasn't tough. But being away from your loved ones for that long and coming home and the show comes out and people don't even notice that it's come out, that part can be a little hard for
it's the dark belly of the golden age of television.
Yeah. But anyway, all I mean to say is thank you.
Oh, no problem. I really am so interested to talk to you about it because the first season, it was a rare event for me because if I start watching something with my girlfriend and she falls asleep or I really remember specifically, like, I chewed another half an Adderall so I could stay up and keep watching the rest of your first season because I was just really drawn in by the kind of, like, serialized story of this, like, weird world. It's a spy drama that centers around it's in the near past around the idea of preventing Iran from going nuclear. So I guess my first question is, how ironic was that as a concept? Because recently, is it intentionally futile?
Yes. And when we started to make the show, it was especially futile because that the progression toward becoming a nuclear power was headed off through diplomacy.
Right.
And then it's all newly up in the air. But in 2016, it was a settled matter. Our story takes place in 2012. Where it isn't, there are great costs to trying to turn the tide of this election through extra legal means. But we are in the past, and looming in the future is this notion that this problem was
right.
fixed.
But the people, the viewers, are being told, well, this is happening before. Are we? I don't want to use the word "supposed to" because you're an artist, so you'll probably say you should feel however you want, but. I kind of I'm going to ask anyway. Did you want me to feel like all of this is for nothing, or did you want me to understand that the stakes are high for people like this, the protagonist and his father?
Well, I didn't want just you to feel anything, but that's the way it turned out. But that's precisely the feeling that we were hoping to
Which one?
Evoke. Oh, this idea that there is futility from the onset.
But that the stakes are high for them and that they're believably high for them. What the fucking...
Yeah.
I hope Steve's okay.
But the stakes for us reduced to the stakes for like a Dog Day Afternoon, which is just to survive the event of the mistake.
I mean, it's like the way that I get introduced to the show was the strangest thing. I was at a meeting and we were talking about just different shit, just random shit, and somebody who I later forgot who it was a person that said, "Have you guys seen this show Patriot?" And I had seen like ads at the airport where it was like the Michael Dorman like looking at through an interactive billboard, or I was like, "What's this Patriot shit? Who knows?"
But were you turned off?
By the advertising? No, I didn't. I was like, I don't know. Someone else had got a TV show. I hope I'm better than them. Like you see an ad for a TV show. I'm like, how come NBC never did that for me or whatever? I just have narcissistic feelings, but like, The guy looked charming. I had no idea he was Australian. We'll talk about that later. That guy's so good.
Yes.
But then it's, you just get you see this advertising. Oh, there's a show out there. It's called Patriot. Who knows what the fuck that means? And then someone in a meeting that I was with said, have you guys seen this show Patriot? And what they said that made me bother to watch it was something that it doesn't even sound on paper like it should make me want to watch it, which is basically like, it's kind of like an Ian Fleming novel if Wes Anderson directed it, which that might be incredibly offensive to you. I mean, it involves other creatives and it's like but it made me go, what? And so I watched the pilot and then I was just sucked in. I was sucked in by the cynicism. I was sucked in by the themes that you seem to, I don't want to dissect you and diagnose you. I want you to talk about what motivates you. Good luck. If you've listened to an episode of this show, you know I'm a bad interviewer, but like your thing with fathers and sons, your thing with nature versus nurture, your thing with sociopathy, these are the things that drew me in. Like the first episode of that show, what you're establishing is that there's this fucking strapping, really lovably hunky dude in a ratty sweater who is smoking weed in Amsterdam, and you're getting through backstory that he's a CIA, probably black bag, wet operator, someone who's good at killing people, and that his father works at the CIA, and that he's been kind of like hanging out in Amsterdam, smoking weed and writing songs about how he kills people for the CIA and performing them in open mic clubs. And there's just so many amazing choices that the show makes in those first moments where it's like, oh, the CIA isn't going, we have to stop him from singing those songs. They don't care. He's like, he's just singing songs. And by the way, and we'll talk about it later, but these are all your songs. You're a musician. You write and record these songs and stuff. But like he sings these songs about what he's doing, like his mission is like oh, I gotta kill a guy in a turban, and I don't know if he's good or bad, and I don't know what's up. But it's just, the guy's like he's good at killing people, which is a sociopath's job. But he either is or isn't a sociopath.
Yeah, it is. It's all that stuff, Dan, for sure. Spread out over.
But.
This man is like a professional Dan handler.
Very insightful, Dan. However...
Right, Dan. A lot of things come chocolate, but this is a brownie.
All of that is the case with the story, but all of it exists only to allow our guy to start tackling this task in a way that I hope would be more familiar to an audience as it regards their own lives. There are so many mornings I wake up and I'm just not prepared for whatever it is that I have to do that day. Like a parent-teacher conference, I'm not prepared. Buying shoes, I'm not prepared. I always feel like I lack some attachment to preparing and then finishing well anything that's in front of me, because my mind's always somewhere else. And I know that that's true of most people, and I thought it wouldn't be any different for a person in this walk of life.
Right.
The job then was just to fill his head with some ideas and some energy that would make him someone worth spending time with. And the sociopathy, it's because he was raised by a person who made him sort of super American, in that he imposed on him values that you really have to be taught when you're little, because you throw them off when you're older, when you reach the age of reason. Patriotism is a thing that you learn in the Boy Scouts you just ought to be into. But then when you get older and you look around and you think, well, all that means is that I'm obligated to strangers who probably don't have my best interest at heart.
And your dad, because he's a welder or a bus driver, by the time you get to adolescence and are going to shrug off and realize that it's bullshit, you've probably also already seen your dad pay the price for it too, unless your dad works for the CIA, in which case there's no reason for him to depart from that company line. That I'm so glad. That, but. Well, okay. Well, maybe this is a total derailment, but now, okay, talk about your dad. Talk about you and your is this how autobiographical is this, or how?
Yeah, I had a highly charismatic father who was always the smartest person in the room, and it didn't matter if there were 2 people in the room or 200 people in the room. He always dominated the flow of events, and he was always the bottom line. And he was an intimidating person to share dinner with, but I had this inherent trust. For any direction he gave me, I would feel like this must make sense because my dad asked me to do it. And then the older I got, you're right. He turned back to man size. He turned back to human over time.
As you became an adult, you saw him maybe up against shit, and you're like, oh,
and then
my
our
dad.
Politics were different, and at some point it's hard.
He didn't like 27 Dresses, and you're like, actually, that's really good. He loved Gremlins too. He's like, I can't believe how meta it was, and you're like, come on, it was a little. It kind of ate itself a little bit.
When are we going to talk about Tim Allen's Santa Claus children?
I don't know. Yeah, we'll get to that later. This is too. I can't. I'm really like fanning out. By the way, because I really have a lot of respect watching you. Like 20 episodes of you.
I'm so up for it. I appreciate it so much.
And it's amazing that what I'm hearing is like, I really cynically thought I was not going to hear what I'm hearing, because honestly, one of the least accessible things about this character is his weird compulsion to please his father. I really don't I fixate on my father, and I have to run like what ifs in my head of like, if my dad was the kind of dad that asked things of me, which he wasn't. I respect the fuck out of my dad and would love to gain his admiration, but there's it's like, but this idea of, because this character, he's just physically tortured and emotionally.
But it's crazy where it comes from. I remember reading an interview with Emilio Estevez, and they asked him, did his father, did he urge the kids to be in that business? And what Emilio said was, no, I think we both just admire our dad, and if our dad was a roofer, we would be in the roofing business. And that made sense to me. I didn't have that kind of, I didn't adhere to my father like that. But I think you need a father, and if you're fatherless, you'll feel it. You'll be groping in life for some lessons you might learn more easily than the hard way.
And yet fathers can be the worst thing that
and then generally turn out to be the case.
You like need one, but it's not the end of your problems, having one. It can be... I am endlessly fascinated by it. I want to ask you a question that is part spoiler, kind of, if anyone in the audience is like, has not seen the show and therefore is going to watch it. I don't think this is a tremendous spoiler. It's not like a plot spoiler. It's a little bit of a character spoiler, but I need to ask you about it. This father is the actor who plays Locke from Lost. What's that actor's name?
Telio Quinn.
By the way, this cast is just fucking incredible. Kurtwood Smith is every single actor is like, just kind of like someone that you just like watching them talk. But so that father in the second season, there's a distinct point, like right about smack in the atonement with the father section of the story circle of the second season, about 3/4 through, where it's all of a sudden, and maybe I'm wrong about this, for the first time, it's revealed that his father doesn't do wet work, doesn't do physical conflict.
You're dead on.
That was devastating for me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
I thought he would give me such
Sorry,
advice.
This is a boring interview. Like, I haven't seen the show. What are you talking about? It's a CIA father and son, and like the son is like this fucking like he fucking kills people for a living. It does shit that hurts him. He loses like limbs and figures. Anyways, but don't
you think that is that fathers expect their sons to do things that they can't do themselves? I do that too with my son. I say, why can't you get an A in science? I could never get an A in science, an A in math. And I find myself saying, well, I expect you, because you have a different intellect, to be able to do that. And then I stop myself, and I raise my son in a way where I always quit when I started to say, well, if someone's picking on you, you have to fight them, because I don't think I would do that. And maybe it would be that I just would chicken out, but I know that I wouldn't do it. But my father would tell me to do things that I knew he wouldn't do. But that is a small identification of a large thing that our guys in government ask our young people to do, and they would never do it. How many presidents have we had who, in a row now, who haven't been in the Army, and then they're so happy to send our young people out like they're little Army men and they're playing.
Well, and certainly if you're a patriot, part of being a patriot, you can't allow for that concept of like, wait a minute, it was a lot. I was in my 40s before I learned, because my ex-wife's dad was a chaplain in the Navy. That was the first time I actually learned that officers don't come up through the ranks.
Oh, they can just start there.
Yeah, they just start an officer school, and it was like,
especially the chaplains. That'd be funny though if they had the chaplains in there at the beginning.
I was just asking them like military questions. So I was like, just answer me questions about how the Navy works, and then along the way, I'm like, wait a minute, go back. Wait, what? And it's like, oh yeah, no, infantry, like regular rank and file people, they can actually. There's a ceiling at like sergeant. If you're going to be a general, you go to a special school called You're Going to Be a General, maybe.
Right.
And then my question is like, why doesn't that just destroy everything? And the answer is patriotism, not as opposed to the pride we feel in a system.
Well, it's precisely what we're writing about.
Yeah, and so it's like that. It's like your dad saying, "I'm." Do you think that our protagonist in Patriot, do you think he thinks that he's a smart person? Do you think he thinks his dad is smarter than him?
We caught up with him at a time where he's too overwhelmed by events to think. That his challenge is...
He knows that thinking is a big, big problem.
The only space he has to express anything other than marching forward is through the music. So he doesn't contemplate the right or wrong. He fights to get out of the fix that he's in. And the show... It only takes place over 17 days now, and we're 20 hours in.
I know there's all this nonlinear shit. You do so many things. This is the highest compliment I want to give you, and I hate when people pretend that they're backhanded compliments or compliments. I really do not mean it this way. I want to say that like I disagree with I'm befuddled by some choices that you make so often, and I'm still riveted. Like I will go like, wait, does this guy? I will ask myself every 10 minutes while I'm watching your show, is this guy a sociopath? I will ask myself if you're Republican or Democrat. I will ask myself if
I'm a Democrat.
If you think that.
Me too. I
will ask myself if you think
I know what you mean.
It's funny to like bully people, or if you're like doing what I do in Rick and Morty, which is like, hey, it's a fucked up universe.
I'm
like,
doing what you do.
Innocent people suffer, but like
you
do it in a way that's like very challenging sometimes, but also the results are it's incredibly funny because I believe that the guy is real because he's in a terrible job. He's like the equivalent of a sewage plant worker.
Yeah, well,
he has to work in shit.
The show, it focuses on people who break things that can't be put back together versus the shows that concentrate on problems that can't be solved, swept under the rug, or put in the past. So in that sense, there's a little bit of a different bargain we have with the audience where you will... Well, if you take Dog Day Afternoon, which is a model for us, I think you know within 10 minutes that they will not accomplish that goal.
Accomplish the goal of what?
Robbing the bank, getting away with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The narrative goal, yeah.
Right. And you know it will end poorly for someone you care about.
Right.
But you continue to watch. And the question that I ask as a filmmaker is, why do you continue to watch? What is it that compels you to stay interested in this thing? And I think that you make a connection to that kind of energy where you are just watching someone try to fix something that can't be fixed.
Does it have to do with the women in the family? Because the mom is estranged. And like because one of the things that I ask, being from the Midwest like you while I'm watching the show, there's kind of it's sort of like so it's like I keep asking myself, well, when is the scene coming where we understand that the son admires this father so much? And then I think to myself, that scene is called the son becoming his brother. his brother's just like a diplomat. Like he's like kind of like it's. I don't want to explain your characters, but I feel like the part of the irony of the story is that the brother who doesn't work in murder, that he wishes he could. It's like he's like very comfortable lying and like kind of digs it, but he wouldn't be good at it. Is that?
Oh, absolutely. The happiest people in Patriot are the ones who work in government at the level that's of congressman or cabinet member.
But so there's all these guys. It's like all this masculinity, and then it's almost like if you talked about it even for a second, it's a seal that would break, and your father, for instance, would go, "Oh, my son just expressed." Like you can come to your father and say, "I'm in a mess. I'm losing my mind. I'm on a million drugs." But what you can't say is, "I don't want to kill this person. I am feeling insecure. I'm feeling vulnerable," because the dad would immediately. I've talked to like my friends who are stunt workers, and they go like, "Oh yeah, like I had to get kicked in the balls and the harness failed, so Will Smith was just kicking my actual balls for 20 takes, but I couldn't. I know I have a legal right, and I could have gone like, my actual balls are being kicked there. I don't know if I can have children anymore, but it's the wild, wild west. It's gonna be a hit, and if I." There's this stuntman code that's like, I'm here because I don't slow anything down. The whole point of my job is someone says, it'd be great if someone could jump out a window, start on fire, and roll around, and you want to be that person.
Yeah.
And that if you ever go like, even if you nail it and like roll and everyone's applauding, if you stood up and said like, kind of touch and go there for a while, what does it go? It was? Fuck you. Like that there's a fear there of like of vulnerability.
Well, we have an episode in season 2 that if you do watch the show, you'll recognize that we have these title cards that introduce one episode after the other that are unique to the show. They're one-offs.
Those are so great.
Thank you. They all have, we don't call them episode 16, we say Patriot 16. Like, I hope that creates this idea that there can be an unexpected, necessary next place to go. But in season 2, we have an episode that's called Fuck John Wayne. For all the reasons that you're talking about. And I thought, why don't we just say it? We'll write it on a shirt, and we can make some noise about people before us who used our art form to make themselves rewarded and make other people diminished by their make-believe. I love some people's make-believe, and I don't like other people's make-believe, and I don't particularly like his. So I think we were very clear about that we are on the side of the people who believe that kind of bravery comes with a terrible cost.
Right.
And this is a comedy, by the way.
But there are people in your show. I mean, like let me throw some questions at you because we're talking about tonality. So like the little fella that comes to Paris and is like he's the little cop from Milwaukee and and our hero is drunk and high, and I'm so resonating with this moment where he's like, I have gotten so fucked up, so drunk, so high, I'm having such a good time with my friends, and these cops have followed me to Paris, and one of them is little. He's I don't know if he's clinically a little person. He's a little person. He's so little that they talk about how little he is, and they talk about how strategically, therefore, we don't have to fight him because his strides are shorter and all this stuff. And like, there's the moment before our hero, quote unquote, like gets into the cab. He's so drunk and so high, and he's doing the actual traditional like. Yeah, he's holding the little guy's head so he can't punch him, and it's sort of like
I asked him not to
shoe to drop.
I asked him not to do that, and Mike Dorman, he said it's impossible not to do that with that thing. Are you thinking like life is so cruel? Like it's almost like because I'll tell you this story because this
what'd you want?
This really happened. What's that, Spencer?
Yeah, well, if you didn't want him to do that, what did you want? No, tell me the story. Go ahead.
I think this is true.
Well, we weren't going to believe you.
That's how the Iliad begins.
When
The 5 best. Yeah.
That's actually how your show begins. The entire show is appropriately. There's the whole wraparound is there's some kind of hearing happening where everyone is answering questions from an unseen source. They're going, this is what happened.
I think it is true that in the 1980s, when cities were all broke and falling apart and crime rates were going through the roof, that in Jersey City, New Jersey, so many policemen were being injured that the insurance companies were going broke, paying out their bills, their health bills. They instituted size restrictions that were new to the police force. Cops who weighed too much had to go work in an office, and cops who were under a certain height had to go work in an office. So they took good police officers off the street. The part that I like the most, that I think is true also, is that they gave them a 3-month period before they were going to pull them off the streets and into the offices. And the idea was that if they could make a series of like spectacular arrests, if they could distinguish themselves the way that policemen do and win awards, they could stay on the streets. So what I pictured when I heard that, and this is the part I actually think happened, that there were a bunch of really tiny policemen running around trying to make really important arrests.
So 7 dwarves just hauled me off to jail. Talking about they getting promotions.
So picture an office space. Now, the ones who couldn't do that, working in an office with each other, like the cop with one leg and the overweight cop and the tiny cop, trying to maintain your dignity in that environment. These are those policemen from Milwaukee, and they happen on some evidence that could allow them to bust this whole thing open, and they decide that they can do something about it, and they're very good cops.
We do love all of them, and you referenced the Fuck John Wayne thing, which is one of those other cops. He does a monologue, says, he was a war veteran, and he got injured so much that it hurts when he walks, and for the longest time, he was embarrassed to walk because the face he'd make when he would walk would cause him pain, and he was worried about the face making him a pussy, and he was a soldier after all, and he one day burst through a membrane by making a T-shirt and writing on marker, and you show MOS footage flashback of him doing it. It says "Fuck John Wayne" on his shirt so that he can now walk around a track by himself. It's a shirt for nobody but himself because John Wayne's name was Marion and he didn't go to war, and he had flat feet. All of that stuff is an illusion, and in fact what's not an illusion is the John Wayne syndrome of men feeling like they have to be men so much that they actually do the least manly thing of all, which is not admit that they are weak. That they are in pain.
Well, that's really cool and beautiful, and it's right where we want to be.
But you do that with that guy. But the poor little guy, he doesn't have a story. He's just little, and you're like, and I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not like calling you out. I'm like, because it's like your show. Your show does these things where I'm like, God damn it, why'd you do that? But if I knew why you did it, you'd be Chuck Lorre.
It's not over yet.
Shots fired, or Chuck can take it.
Well, if you do care to like the show, you'll notice that everything comes back.
Does it come back for that poor little guy?
Well, he came back. We stuffed him in a locker in the first season.
Yeah, I know. He just keeps getting abused because he's little. It's
season.
just. I don't, but I'm not. Now it sounds like I'm calling you up, but I'm saying this is. I have the same questions for God. Like that's why it's a big compliment because
I don't know if I can do any better.
Because you confuse me sometimes. Like what you'll do things like so the Luxembourg police, like there's this amazing the layered decisions. Like the Luxembourg police station is this palatial. That's just a funny thing. Like you go to Luxembourg, which has a homicide rate of 0 until our protagonist comes through town in the story, at which point it multiplies very quickly. Because it has a homicide rate of 0, previous to the narrative happening, the entire homicide department because it's a less glamorous place, because if your homicide rate is 0, then that makes homicide the equivalent of like maybe giving parking tickets.
Yeah.
And so the entire homicide department is women. And there's all these toxic men who are like in lesser departments, criminally speaking, who are losing their fucking minds that murder has come to Luxembourg, and these inferior women are in charge of solving it when they know. And like the first season, it's like there's just amazing conversations. Your dialogue has this like weird mystical realism thing to it, where every single character in your universe basically speaks like one person. Is that an insult? Like that? Like they. You don't bother with like, oh, this is Flo. She's from Alabama, so she makes grits. Like every character, whether they're an assassin or whatever language of they're speaking their language and their subtitles, like they all have the same propensity for they get lost in details.
What I'll hear when you say that is that everybody speaks organically. Everybody speaks the way we do to each other. It's halting. It's casual.
Right. Like you don't bother to do what could be an insulting thing, which is to be a writer and go like, well, this person's a crawfish hunter, so I'm gonna modify their vocabulary or their patois or whatever. It's like it's an international spy drama.
Yeah.
So people will be speaking French, but the subtitles are like, it's like, yeah, they're following these chains of logic. It's really good, man. I hope you're not being insulted by what I'm talking to you about. Because I by the way, I do the same thing. I don't try to make characters.
Please don't give that a second thought. I'm so happy to be here to talk about any of it at all. And I know that you dig the show, and I love that it provokes these questions from you. It's our intention to be able to talk about the show like this. Now, this idea that everybody talks to each other with some recognizably regular way, it's a choice of ours to make this thing feel like make-believe, but then also more believable than a Jason Bourne series.
Right. It's more believable because of the emotional dynamics, ostensibly.
Yeah, or just the way the people's appetites get expressed, that we can concentrate on the 10 things that someone wants to be able to feel satisfied or to have dignity. People get counted on in our show, considered in the show by each other in ways that allows them to help each other. John is not the only person in the show who needs love. They're all the group that you identified, the little cop and the one-legged cop. They call themselves the Broken Toys.
Yeah.
But everybody in the show is a
But you throw that away.
Toy.
You totally throw that away. Like the season 2, it said one time, right? That's what you throw shit like that away all the time. Like you'll just have 3 cops sitting there,
but
and then they'll go like, "All right, Broken Toys," and I'm like, "What? Broken Toys?" Like they're the misfit toys.
They're the misfit toys. Well, yeah, that's an important distinction. But I said broken. In season 3, they recreate that.
Season 3,
Rankin and Bass. Well, if we're allowed to make one,
okay.
But they recreate that Rankin and Bass stop motion Misfit Toys song together in a Christmas episode.
Jesus, that sounds unsellable. But if you want to do it, I know some stop motion animation studios.
Yeah.
I can help you with that. Award-winning, have done similar things. You said something. So here is the fucking crazy Mariana's Trench like question for me. Does this fucking show take place in reality or not? Because you defy for me, it makes me twitch when I'm watching the show precisely because I'm usually able to at some point go, okay, this is a metaphor, or i.e. it's like mystical, like you watch like a crazy ironic action movie where you start to go, okay, this is tongue in cheek, I like Crank or shoot 'em up or whatever, where it's where you're loading fingers into a gun and shooting people with their own fingers. Your show, it jet skis like back and forth across the wake of that, because the most fundamental things about traveling and doing things are what are driving things. They all make everything go awry. But I'm so curious about like how you think stabbing people and shooting people works, because maybe you're right and I'm wrong, or it's like people keep getting stabbed and shot in your show, and they're like, I got stabbed, and then they're like, can you help me? And then like someone goes, yeah, like I don't know, they just like don't seem to. I would like if I got my fingers shot off. Spoilers, sorry. Like I would be like, okay, no more fingers, no more. That's it. Take me to jail.
My dad's been stabbed.
What's that?
My dad's been stabbed a couple times. So
I don't know who he doesn't work here. I thought he was with you.
Do you guys know Dan's
can we hear at
date
least? Can we hear at least one of those stories?
Oh yeah.
No. I'm happy to. I want to hear about your dad being stabbed.
He got robbed on what do you call it? New Year's Eve in L.A. And the guy was like, "Give me your money," and my dad was like, "Fuck off," and he was like, "No, give me your money," and my dad was like, "Fuck off," and then he was like, "Wapa wapa," and he got him twice in the head.
French? Is that French for redundant?
It's it's French for stab. But yeah, he caught him in the face. Great. It was good.
Whoa.
They call him, I don't remember how to say Scarface in Spanish, but that's what he wanted people to call him. I don't think it caught on. But it happened in L.A. And he went back and was like, check this out. To Colombia, where he lives. My dad lives in Colombia.
Whoa.
Hey, guys, it's me. No. This is all just to say... People can be stabbed.
Yeah, I know. There's so many amazing. Like here's an example of your show being both grounded and absurd in a way that completely draws me in. There's a cold open of one of your episodes that I almost wanted to like transcribe and just read aloud. I really am regretful that I didn't do it, because people should. I want to like look at you as like a. Like you write incredibly like you're writing and directing so many like. Is it all of the episodes or?
I did all the episodes in season 2, and
I don't even know. I'm like, what the fuck again with this guy? Like written and directed. Jesus Christ, are you hogging credit, or are you a fucking animal? But like you're doing too much and stuff. And then I'm like, no, but the same voice is permeating. And there's a cold open where it's just our protagonist, and he's like ostensibly at some point during his training. And he's like looking through a weird textbook, and all you hear is the off-screen voice of a CIA instructor.
That's Tim Blake Nelson.
Who's what's that?
That's Tim Nelson. The off-screen instructor is Tim Nelson.
And it's just a big long monologue. The actor doing the monologue is completely off-screen, so all you're looking at is our silent protagonist as he just examines a textbook, and all you're hearing is a man explaining how to punch a dog unconscious. It's like it's not.
That's extremely my shit.
It's like people don't like you run into a thing and the dogs are trained. What's the mistake that people make? Oh, they want to panic. They want to know, what do you do? What do you do to a dog? Well, the dog wants to do one thing. He wants to bite a limb. Offer him your least valuable limb. Use the other limb to punch the dog.
Yes.
Until it's unconscious.
I've said on this stage, I have said these things.
And the instructor goes into a gratuitous and therefore further grounding amount of detail about how, for God's sakes, the dog's got a little tiny brain. It just needs to be punched a certain amount of times before it goes unconscious. If you were in a fight with an 80-pound man, you would laugh it off. You would figure out ways to be it. A dog is 80 pounds. Just figure, like, it's like the instructor is an expert on how to beat a dog unconscious, but is still offended by the idea that his students haven't figured it out yet, that it's easier than you think. And all you just see, and it's almost like it's Brechtian, because
and then Tim finishes with, please turn to page 9 and we'll learn how to knock a woman unconscious with a bicycle.
Yes. and then and only then it cuts to over his shoulder where he turns the page and there's an entire, like, that's, I love.
But then
Because it's
It
a full
happens
illustration
in-
of how to knock a woman out with a bicycle.
Right, but then Cool Rick does it in episode 7.
Oh shit.
Yes, no, of course he
Yeah,
does. No,
yeah.
I didn't. I'm not going to say I knew that a woman would be knocked out with a bicycle when I saw that illustration. But you're saying that like it's like, oh, that validates it. That
No, I'm
doesn't.
not saying that.
No, I don't mean validating knocking women out with bicycles. That's not what I mean. I mean, as a writer, I mean, you didn't. You can do
Where
that
is
or
Jeff?
not do it, and that's gravy. In isolation,
Right.
that was I thought was so fucking cool.
Now, simultaneous to that, thank you very much, Dan. Simultaneous to that, we're watching Mike Dorman do a Buster Keaton where he's looking around this classroom to try to find another pair of eyes to latch onto to say, this is insane.
Is it me or
Right.
or is being in the CIA going to be? Is it going to get worse before it gets
Right,
better?
and he can't find anybody to return that eye contact. So when you get to the end of it, what I'm hoping happens is the audience recognizes that he feels alone and overwhelmed.
That's my point of access for him is that he happens to be good at something that he'd probably rather not do. His songs they're not McCartney-esque at their level of like, he's not like so into harmony as he is into total self-expression.
Yeah.
So it's like, he probably wouldn't be a platinum record.
No, he doesn't rhyme very much either.
He more explains how...
yeah.
But he explains so well. He explains he's so good at explaining the things that he's not allowed to talk about, which
Yeah.
is such an unfortunate talent.
The reason we made him a folk singer is I recognize that if you're singing folk music in a park, no one listens. They just walk by. They don't even take the time to hear that he is planning on making midnight raids. And so he's an invisible voice. Like that voice of his isn't heard by anyone.
Yeah, what I love is that the CIA,
Did I say
CIA in
invisible
your
voice?
universe
Yeah, I
understands
meant
that.
a voice that no one can hear.
They come into a basement in Amsterdam and he's laying out everything that he has to do, and the CIA's perspective is like, well, like what? They're not
concerned
they don't
about it, no.
care about that. What they
Yeah.
care about is that he's not doing it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
But this notion that people do get hurt in the show, it's important it's so important for us to separate from the other shows where that it can be the case, and that we don't ever walk by someone who gets hurt on Patriot. If someone gets hurt on Patriot, they become part of the Patriot family. They get integrated into the storytelling. The French policewoman that John makes blind, the shop owner who he has to steal the gun from, they all return, and then they return to us.
they return in the form of consequences, but they don't return in the form of accountability.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, what? But
If you think about it's not cool to debate your show because your show should just do that.
yeah, of
already.
course, that's the thing. Is like you're not trying to make a point. I'm
Right.
curious about is as a writer, you're the god of your universe, right? So you make this universe. In your universe, this protagonist, one of the first things that happens, and this is the thing that sucked me into the show. His job is to get a job in Milwaukee at a pipe fitter company, which is a hilarious thing that you. I mean, again, the chops that you have when you're the runner of the entire series is like all of the presentation dialogue
Yeah.
when people are the difference between men who are fantastic at talking about pipe fitting, and it's just like this weird fusion of gibberish and real pipe pneumatic terminology, and we don't know where one begins and what ends. So it's like just these like it almost sounds like this like Jabberwocky poem of like anyways. But he has to get this like job at this company, and there's one guy ahead of him for the job, and he's next to that guy out in the street, and he pushes the guy into an oncoming bus or whatever, and the guy spends the rest of that season coping with his brain injury that he sustained in this accident that got him the job. But it's like I was like, oh, that's cool. Like we're gonna find out why a human being would get to a point where just because his not to disappoint his father, he would push another man into the path of a oncoming car.
Well, but that's an emotional reason. But the reason John's being told that the math works like this, that country is trying to become a nuclear power. It's our government's position that we can't allow that to happen for any number of threats, reasons, and there will be peril if that happens. And your job is to not ask questions, but your job is to get this bag from A to B to stop that from ever happening. So there's always this idea that there's this greater consequence behind the smallness of our world of pain and injury, but the show doesn't care about that. I think you can tell where our heart lays in this show. Like, we love the small moments. We have an expression in the writer's room. We just call it Durka Durka when we're talking about the government stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's from Team America. And it just means these are just words that you won't remember, but it's the super plot. It's the plutonium.
Right.
Patriot doesn't want to live there very long. I mean, we need that to have a TV show, but
you're acting like the guy that got pushed in front of the car, like that I'm saying, like, I'm afraid of God in real life. I hate real life, and I write stories because I hate the fact that God, like, makes my sister retarded for no reason, and there's no resolution to that story. Like that I do cruel things to people and I never get punished for it. These are the things that I hate about life, and then I'm sort of like, I feel like a difference between me and you is that, and I truly do, as a self-loathing writer, I go like, I think this makes me this is something that I see as a strength in you, or at least intimidating in you. Like I don't like strength, weakness, whatever, better, worse, whatever. But it intimidates me about you that you don't feel that pressure to make sure that guy got pushed into traffic, that he, I don't know, gets his comeuppance, which he really doesn't. He becomes like kind of a running gag. I mean, he's an annoyance. He's an obstacle. It's an inconvenience to our hero that he did that to a person, but it's like sort of like, oh man, I hurt this guy. So now this guy, I got to deal with this guy. The unspoken thing, maybe next time I'll just kill him. Yeah, that not you didn't say that.
Right.
God didn't say that in your universe, but it's like sort of like it never resolves in like, oh shit,
well, here's how I picked it back up. We see John riding his bicycle at night in a really treacherous race where they intentionally run stop signs and run through railroad tracks, and he's singing a song about this young person who he pushed in front of a truck, and he says he has to have a therapy companion now, and he's probably never going to laugh again. And what does that mean if you can't laugh? If you can't laugh, you probably can't have love. So he sings this in a song on this bicycle in this race called the Charles Grodin. And then he hurts more people between episode 2 and episode 10. And then episode 10, he rides in front of a moving car so that he'll be killed.
Yeah.
So he's carrying the weight of that stuff. The momentum of that causes him not to want to be alive anymore.
Oh God, he definitely wants to die.
But it's because of those things. It's because he's been told that these are collateral people, and he knows that they're not.
So who could love their father that much? The answer is you, and like I respect that so much. Like that you are like poor. I mean, I like really. Here's the thing. Like you, like we'll talk about other stuff now. I wanted to take a deep dive into that. Like I thank God you're out there like pitching. Hey, let me do this, and then you're just fucking like to me. I feel kind of like I have like a valve in my head that makes me go, okay, but yeah, at the end of the day though, you got to make the nice people happy, and it's not like you're being punk rock and throwing your shit at the audience in a bar. Like what you're doing is like you're a little bit like the protagonist or something that you're like you don't have that like terror of disappointing strangers as much as something else. You're answering some kind of, I don't know. You remind me of Nick Pizzolatto, the True Detective guy. Like, it's like these writers that I'm like, what the fuck did you do that for? And they're like, I don't know, man. I'm just fucking right. And I'm like, God damn it. Like, because I'm like, my answer is like, why the fuck would you do anything to make people like you? And like, and then I have this like nuanced awareness of course, they're not going to like you if they ever get wind of that. So. I'll do a little thing where he's the guy you love to hate, honk honk, but not really. Like, and then there's like in this like streaming age of television where there's executives that are willing to buy your show because they're going to put it on Amazon where it gets lost in a search engine for spatulas. I'm not talking shit that you haven't experienced. Like you got a second season, but your show is like. Being on Amazon is like a weird mixed blessing. It's like maybe you'll win an Emmy, maybe no one will ever find your show ever because they're happy selling irons. I don't. Well, what am I? Well, like you're gonna respond to that and go, yeah, it's fucked up. Do you hear that, Amazon?
It's fucked up.
Yeah, you should come over to Adult Swim.
But at the same time, it's like if you and I were about, it's like well, this isn't going to work on CBS, ABC, or NBC.
Right.
So I don't want to live in that world where it's like, oh, it doesn't work on one of those three, so let's not do it. I mean, you made a show; it's like beautifully shot. By the way, you're a fantastic director.
Thank you.
Your fucking like almost obsessive desire to stay in the wide. I want to fucking kiss you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dan.
You play so many scenes in the fucking wide. I love it. Yeah. Love you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
As a director, I love you.
Thanks.
I love that you're a writer, then you're fucking shooting it, and you're like, yeah, fucking why ruin a oneer? The fucking guy walks in, they have a conversation, fucking do it. When you cut to shit, it disrupts your brain. It's like a seismic event. What do I rocket my face into another guy's face? It's like you fucking play scene like people kiss.
I love it. Rocket my face into another guy's face.
It's something
that's crazy because that's exactly how I feel. I feel like whoa, like not so fast.
But
man.
you also do crazy POV shit.
Yeah, well, the show
to illustrate the effects of drugs and alcohol and stuff,
like
which is really effective. It's not obnoxious. Like you just show his POV, and you're like, yeah, he's pretty high.
Well, I just want whoever cares to come to the show to really get lost inside of that world, because we do ask a lot of the audience. It can be peculiar in turns, but the cinema of it shouldn't be, I think. I don't want to look like TV. I think the show it's a part of this newer art form where we inherited this thing from The Sopranos and Deadwood, where you can just keep the story going. And I wanted it to feel like a new sort of thing. And I have these great filmmaking partners on the show. And I'm glad that you appreciated that part of it, because it's part of the power of the show. If it works for you, it's part of it.
Are you a Milch guy?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Yeah.
Who's designing those title sequences, by the way? Because you mentioned it, like the title cards for your show.
Yeah, it's a graphic designer named Alex Shen who works in San Francisco. This one kid.
Oh, really? I mean, hats off
He's
to
really
them.
talented.
One more thing about just because I just want to, because I mentioned the actors. So I like as a writer and director, on the spectrum of actors are cattle. They're incredibly valuable cattle, so try to find the ones that are the best looking cattle. All the way to the other end of the spectrum, which is actually, you know what? We barely do anything, and at the end of the day, either Joel McHale and Allison Brie are in your show or they're not. And if you like because they're attractive people will tune in. Like I've gone to both places, like in my where I'm like, you know what we do? We put pretty heads on a body. Not pretty heads. That sounds diminishing. No, I mean, like people that people want to look at and listen to talk. And as writers, because there's a reason why no one tunes into a fucking script. And it's just, how do you feel about actors as a race?
I have had films where I'm not directing them. Just kind of go away if you can't figure out how to communicate to the actor. If the actor is just gonna take it. And on Patriot, we just don't have that. We have the getting through the day is the only ordeal on Patriot, just shooting a lot of pages. The actors are glad, I think, to come to work and to be complicated. And we have good-looking people in the show. I guess I don't look at it like that. They've all become really important to me. And they're also, like Mike Dorman, he's a good-looking guy.
Oh my God.
But that's not what he pushes on the show.
No, he's so much more.
Yeah, he's more. He's more.
I seriously, it's really notable the size of man crush I get. I think it's more about it's his sweater, his like. He's just so cute, like, and so sad. But the show points that out.
Do you want to fix him?
I want to fix him. Yeah. He's so sad, and all the female characters in the show, from little 6-year-old girls to his own mother, they're victims of his sadness. Yeah. And his own wife is like, yeah, no, he's really sweet. Like when he's high, actually, he doesn't get violent. And he's characterized as sad, and like all these beautiful shots you do, just showing him walking from one job to the next because now he's going to deal with this, and he just when he's performing, he's got his Percocet jaw.
Yeah.
I just found out tonight because I bothered to Wikipedia him. He's Australian. What the fuck?
God,
I can't believe these fucking like Kiwis and Aussies that are like they're actors, like they're playing Americans, and they're fucking like God damn these people. We should actually we should start closing our borders.
Well,
it just occurred to me.
They're all different, but if I had to make a generalization, which is not a good idea ever, but they don't. Acting is not a way to become a celebrity. There, it's a way to be an artist. So they're not any different than our camera operator. They don't act any different than the rest of our crew. He is a humble and tremendously hardworking artist.
I.e., abusable.
I'm
being glib, but
we put Mike in. He swam the English Channel
he did
for a TV show, and.
He also, the character climbs over. Can I ask you that one question? What's with the electric fence thing? Like, what did you like? What you can climb over an electric fence if you can just withstand the pain?
Well,
it's a beautiful scene when he explains to the little girl. She's like, "What are you going to do tonight?" And
you can, because there are liabilities with electric fences. Here's they're
not allowed. They're not allowed to be lethal.
They have to be less voltage than would knock a toddler unconscious.
Also, if you spread out,
in case a toddler wandered into one.
That's good to know.
Isn't it also?
It's about willpower.
Yeah.
It's like these random, it's this combination of, if it was just like a sort of like visceral, like, here's how you do this, kind of like that high we get from the Jason Bourne thing where it's like, I know how to pick a lock, and I could say you do this weird childish thing that like I don't know, where he goes like I have to jump 40 feet onto a balcony, and then the person he's talking to goes, make sure you land on your butt, and he goes, that's a absolute mistake. No, that's everyone thinks that. If you landed on your butt in a 40-foot fall, you could, and he names all the medical things that could happen to you that would basically incapacitate you. He's like, the best thing you can do is submit to the fact that you're going to be unconscious for 17 minutes by going sideways and knocking your head, because you're landing on your side and then hitting accepting that your head's going to get hit. And so he just he's like, I'm going to jump 40 feet.
But that's in that book. Here's the way it's expressed. The safest thing to do is to land on the organ that is protected by an encasement of bone, which is your head. Right. You land on your shoulder. But I mean, we made the book up.
Not directly on your head, but no. But that's the thing. Like, he doesn't. That's like, you can't. If you land on your head, you'll break your neck. Like, he doesn't. Like, but it's like, better your head. But like, it's little shit like that. Like, where he that also it enters the mystical realm because his plan or lack of is that he's going to go into the building and he's going to jump and he knows that he's going to be unconscious for 17 minutes, which he is. He's just a guy laying on a balcony unconscious. And then he wakes up and then he walks into a building that he doesn't have to now clip wires and things because he just laid there on a balcony for 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Unconscious, and he gets up and goes to the thing. He snatches the file he needs. Like it's if you were asking the viewer to believe every single thing, like Tom Clancy, you wouldn't get away with that. But
never.
You're also saying this person is alone, they're sad, and all this stuff. And it's like okay. Here's the thing I want to talk about it's that friendship with Rob Saperstein. Is that his name?
Yes. Yeah.
So, all right. So that's got to be the heart of you. Like, what? Who is that guy?
Rob?
For you. Like, what is that? That's the friendship for you that's like crazy.
I have one of those. Jim Becker is that friend of mine who's a musician who Rob is. When I write Rob, I think of Jim.
This guy has a friend. He'd rather be a musician, and he has this friend who looks like Jerry Garcia. He's just like this chill dude. But in season 1, we were pretty sure he hung himself.
Right.
Oh God, now I'm spoiling. Go watch the show. Like maybe he did hung himself. Sorry.
What he means to John is a life whose only complication is: do you prefer the Willie Nelson version of Pancho and Lefty to Townes Van Zandt? That's where John wants to be. He wants to be in a bar having that debate. And
that's what I want
too. That's who he really is.
Is that what you want? Do you want to just hang out and drink and
with you? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a real joy. No, but if you,
it's why I came here.
Do you write and make stuff to what degree is it like? Well, I suck at washing dishes and I just want to keep people from killing me. And to what extent is it like we gotta do it because it's so important? Like I feel like if I found
writing?
Am I what?
Writing, you mean?
Yeah. Right, well, like let's say making stuff because since you do all of the above, like, do you if you
Man, that's a great question.
If you were an heir to a Nike fortune, would you be doing what you do, or do you do it because you desperately didn't want to die of starvation and now it's an addiction?
Excuse the pun.
My brother,
heir to a Nike.
My brother plays Dennis in the show. My brother's the guy.
It was good.
Wait, your brother is Dennis?
Yeah.
Are you shitting me?
No.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
We've been doing that our whole lives, just making stuff up and filming it. And so I would be doing that, I guess, with Chris and with my friends on the show. That I prefer music and movies to writing anything else because you're not alone all the time. Writing is tremendously hard because of all the time you have to spend by yourself. And it's the only aspect of that huge collaboration of people, that whole thing, that only one person does alone. And it's really hard for me, and I don't like it an awful lot. And as time goes by, I like it less and less.
Writing by yourself?
Yeah. Or just writing, period.
Fuck it.
Yeah. I mean, you know.
No, it's fucking like, it feels like... I don't even know. I want to say cutting, but that's like too glamorous.
No, right.
It's like not cutting. It's
homework.
Like because cutting is like
homework.
Productive and interesting. Not to if your kids and you're cutting, I don't want to glamorize cutting. I'm saying writing is shittier. It's like not as cool. It's like garbage. It's like rubbing a fucking pencil in and out of your nasal cavity.
So you're writing, right? You're writing right now, trying to find the way to
exactly.
express,
And it's like, oh, there we go again. Another reason to feel pain because I tried to fucking figure out how to explain something. Yeah, geez, or that or Minecraft. Thank you. Like fuck writing. Like I just thank you for. I'm so glad you said that because you're truly. I mean, I feel very confident. Like and going like I know a good writer when I hear their writing. Like that to me, it's not about like.
Well, thank you.
Because to me, like movies and TV shows and narratives and stuff, I have this obsession about structure and stuff where I don't know where I'd begin and end, and that's kind of what I've been circling with. But then you get down to the root of the matter, where like I am always like, Quentin Tarantino is so good at dialogue.
Yeah.
There's such a, I don't care if he falls in and out of fashion. I don't care what it's like interesting to say academically about the structure of his films or whatever. Like, I know when someone is writing dialogue, when they have like this gift, like you have so much like pouring out of you. I think that's what it is that when I'm watching this show, it's just like, I'm never more than 10 seconds away from, no matter what corner you've been boxed into, like someone's going to say something that I'm like, that's a weird way of saying that. Like, this guy really was on a deadline or drunk or like,
both of those might've been true. They sort of go hand in hand, but I care. As hard as writing is, like, I think it maybe is that hard because I care about it a lot. I think that
it's the worst thing you can do.
To
And it's
care
the
about
worst
the
job
writing?
to have
Yeah.
something, do you care about it? Like, if you're going to make rocking chairs, it's like, first rule, care about it. Like, if you go to McDonald's and go, care about McDonald's, you probably like excel at McDonald's. You go to writing McDonald's and it's like, if you care, you're going to fail.
writing McDonald's.
Don't care.
I picture the uniforms and it sounds like fun. I think we should open a writing McDonald's.
Welcome to Writing McDonald's. We all
not
out of
only
R's
not only
today.
will you fail, you will pay a tremendous personal cost in your life too. You'll become a person who's impossible to live with.
You'll have a terrible reputation. People will be like, well, I don't know what he's doing down there. He's in the office. He locked himself in. He apparently thinks he's writing the Citizen Kane of episodes about a fucking pickle or whatever. Like, he thinks he's fucking hot shit. Like, I riffed that example as if to like buy it back and go like, oh, that was worth it, Dan. But it's like, no, it probably wasn't that. It was like I wrote that one in my sleep with like over the weekend with it's like the shit I've spent today like highlighting and deleting so much shit that I spent so much time writing for fucking like, Rick's gonna really be funny when he says this, and then I'm just like noticing is highlight, delete, because I finally have the luxury of going like, no one's fighting me. I'm in no fight, so now I can objectively go, yeah, that's crap. And then I'm like, I'm like, you spent 3 hours on that line of dialogue for no reason. Sorry, man. I hate writing. Is our point?
Yeah.
It's just such a garbage job. It's such a fake job. It's a fake job.
Well, but
I went too far. You're saying the guild might withhold our payments.
no, but I mean, obviously it's
pension.
fake. It's fiction.
It's a lie, but it's more than just because you're. I'm saying you're lying about it being. It's like you either write something good because you fucking like had to. You can't like. I hate it that we like go like, oh, I'm gonna make this good, and then it's like 6 hours later, and it's like you made it bad. Have you ever made anything good because you spent more time on it?
No, it all accidentally or with an impossible to recognize source just comes to you, and you can never call it. All you can do is fend off the people who want their scripts until that happens. The talent you must have is being able to make people wait until that thing finally accidentally comes together. Music's not like that, though. Music has an entirely different way of coming together that is more peaceful than that. Like the writing fiction is the hardest thing I've encountered among all the different things I do on Patriot. That is the miserable job.
Yeah, chief among it, like figuring out like what someone's supposed to do next, what's supposed to happen next, the plot shit, like you said. I'm like, oh, put two people in a room. Let me have this father say to this son, I need you to do this. And then, boy, this son's going to let him have it. But, like, I'm different from you because the whole time the son is letting the father have it, I would have one eye on the audience. And I'd be going like, right? Like, come on, man. No one likes a bully. And you're like, you're deeper than that to me because you're going like, I don't care. Like, I'm like, here's what it feels like to love your father so much that it hurts everyone around you. That's grown-up shit. So thank you for doing that, even though it's next to the spatulas.
It's under the spatulas. Cool.
I really hope the show gets a third season.
Thank you very
just
much,
because.
Tim.
Well, actually, maybe I don't, because I want you to do whatever you would do if it didn't. I mean, you've done.
He's already put in. We heard him. He's put in work into the third season already. He hasn't done it yet.
Look, I want to see this guy suffer.
It
works
Can
for
we,
me.
A little bit about Steven. Where are you from? What state?
Chicago.
You said, the Midwest. Okay.
Yeah.
What part? Shout that out, just in case they're listening, because we go to Chicago every once in a while.
I live
Boys
in
Town.
Lakeview.
Oh, Lakeview, Boys Town.
I don't know.
Literally, no.
There you
Lakeview
go.
is right
Yeah,
next
it's
to
pretty
Boys
close,
Town.
yeah.
So right off of Belmont a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, we write the show there. And no one who works on the show
You write it
lives-
there? Your offices are there?
Yeah. Yeah.
In the summer, please tell me not in the winter.
Yeah.
Right. You guys.
It's easy to write in the winter in Chicago. There's nothing else to do. But I think that helps us that nobody who works on the show they're not part of the thing here.
Yeah.
They're all just people I picked out from Chicago who have worked with me for 10 years. And the only way they know to do anything is our way, which isn't a better way.
It's great.
Hey, you can tell them when you go back there. Dan Harmon said they're doing it the right way. No, it's like, there's so much like, yeah, it's
Malnati's?
I can tell when you guys are laughing sometimes, and then when I'm not being confused. I like that idea of like the Luxembourg cops, like their toxic masculinity, like going like, oh, these women. Anyways, all right, sorry, I'm beating a dead horse. You guys are fucking nailing it. I hope you get a third season.
Thank you
But then
so
again,
much,
if you
Dan.
don't, you're gonna make something that's even darker and more awful. That will benefit mankind.